Hey, my name is Matt Dixon, and today we're going to talk about 6 things that I've learned about managing a remote team in the tech industry. You know, when the whole COVID thing hit, my life didn't change much because I already had a distributed team. I had a virtual team all throughout the country, and we already figured out how to manage that team, and we've been doing it for years. So this is kind of good information on how you can increase your effectiveness as a leader and how you can effectively lead your team and get the most out of a remote team. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult and challenging. The first tip is that learning is constant. You know, recently I've been getting into sim racing. People ask, what's sim racing? Well, it's a simulation program that runs on your computer, and you have a steering wheel and pedals, and you can drive digital cars around digital tracks. Some of the tracks are laser scanned, and they have physics engines and all sorts of stuff. So it's a fairly realistic environment in the digital world. Now, one of the things is that when I first got into it, you know, I'm still pretty bad at it, let's be honest. But when I first got into it, what did I do? I didn't just hop in and try to get my best lap time because I didn't know what I was doing. I watched a lot of videos and I practiced around the course on an empty track. I viewed some videos on that particular course along with that particular vehicle and see where the braking points are. I turned on the braking line so I can see the braking path and the driving line I should go. And recently I signed up for some coaching. I want to get faster. I want to get better. I want to stop running into people. And that's one of the things is to learn from someone who's already been there. Learning is constant. I'm constantly trying to improve my lap times, and I'm also constantly trying to improve my leadership skills, my software architecture skills, my soft skills in that area. Anything I can do to improve myself, I'm constantly trying to do. So part of that is training, coaching, reading, learning anything you can. And what's the advantage of doing that? Well, for everyone, the advantage is you get better at a certain thing. You get more knowledge. You are able to be more effective in your role. You know, as a parent, we did that as well. We constantly read books. We constantly talked to other parents. We talked to people who had teenage kids when we had littler kids. We talked to people who had adult children when we had teenage children. How did you handle this? What can I look for? What can I do differently? How can I make my relationship with each one of my children stronger and better? And putting that into the work world, what do we do with that? Well, we look at people who have gone before. We look towards a mentor or a trainer or a coach. This is really where other people will come and help us. Even if we're reading a book, we're still reading a book by someone who's been there already. YouTube is a great place. We can watch videos of ways that we can improve. If it's a specific skill in programming, there's tons of videos around that. And we can learn a specific skill, technology, technique, anything you want. It's just out there. All we got to do is go grab it. And this allows us to upskill. This allows us to increase our skills and learn new skills. And we can use them in our workday and improve the way we do things. And this is another way we can stay competitive. Speaking from someone who is ultra competitive, that's all I want, is I want to compete, I want to win. If you're on my team, let's go beat the other team. And that's the way I look at life. Everything's a game, everything's a competition, everything's a problem to be solved. Let's go solve it, win it, score more than the other team, and Bob's your uncle. The second point is micromanagement. A lot of people are micromanagers and they don't know it. A lot of people are micromanagers and think that's the only way they can get stuff done from their team. They have to micromanage every little thing and say, all right, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do that? Is it done yet? Is it done yet? Is it done yet? And as an engineer, those constant interruptions really drain my productivity. And they probably do that for you too. A lot of managers don't realize that. If they didn't come up through the trenches of being software developers, they wouldn't know that every question on a Teams or Slack or whatever you're using takes 15 minutes away from the productivity. So what's the opposite of that? The opposite of that is autonomy, independence, whatever you want to call it, giving your team members the freedom and the leeway to get the job done the way they think it should be done. Our job as managers is to tell them what do we need done? I need XYZ feature written in this software application. You go figure out how to do it. You use your big brain and your intelligence and your skills and do it the best way you know how. Will there be mistakes? Of course, we're humans, we make mistakes. But if we don't do that, what's the alternative? The alternative is the micromanagement, and that we know does not work. When I hire someone that's different from me. I don't need another me. I have me. I want someone else. I want someone who thinks differently from me, someone who does things differently from me. And I do that on purpose so that we get the best ideas. We're not going to get the best ideas if we have a bunch of people that think the same. We need a bunch of people that think differently so that in one area, one person can think outside the box. In another area, another person can think outside the box. And that out-of-the-box thinking is really where creativity comes in to solve problems. Software developers and engineers, even though we don't appear that way, sometimes we're pretty creative in the way that we'll go about solving a problem. That's when a real solution comes into play, is when we creatively solve problems. The way I like to lead a team is just that I'm a leader. I'm not a manager. I don't like to be called a boss. I'm in there with them as well. We're more peers than we are a hierarchy. Because I think in traditional business, that made sense. But in today's world, it doesn't make as much sense as it used to. I can lead a team of peers much better than I can lead a team of subservient workers. And that's my attitude. I'm not saying that everyone looks at it that way. But there are some people that look at it like, I'm the manager, you're down here, you do the work. But I look at it as I'm the manager, and you're over here, you know this about things that I don't know. And sometimes I have a bigger picture as a manager, but neither one of us are better than the other. The project can't get done without both of us. And the way that works for remote teams is very simple. We'll do Scrum, so we'll have a daily check-in. We'll do all the appropriate meetings in Scrum. We'll have a sprint planning where we plan what we're going to do for the next 2 weeks. We'll have our daily stand-up, which is no longer than 15 minutes. It's usually about 5 minutes. It's very quick. What I do yesterday, what I'm going to do today, and is there anything in my way that's keeping me from doing work? And then we'll also have a sprint review at the end of each sprint where we'll demo what we've done. And then throughout that 2-week process, we'll have what's called backlog refinement, where we'll go through all the different features that the business wants to get developed, and we'll prioritize them with the business, and we'll estimate the level of effort. So with a remote team, this works really well because the work can be done anytime throughout the day. I've worked with people that work till 2 in the morning, and I'm working at 6 in the morning, and we don't always need to overlap to get stuff done. The third point is communication. Communication is crucial to any team. Think about, I played soccer through high school and college. Think about a soccer team. How can you communicate effectively with everyone? You can't, but you know what you can do is you can tell the person with the ball what they should do. And then that frees them up. They don't have to look everywhere, but I can see what they can't. So I can communicate, set it down the line, or I can say center, or whatever, through pass. And then they can pass the ball, and then, give and go, then I can give it back to them. And when everyone's doing that, you'd be surprised. The better you get at soccer, the more vocalization there is out on the field. And we're not even talking about the coach. You can't really hear the coach, but you can hear your teammates. Your teammates are a lot closer to you. So when everyone's working as a team and communicating, everyone knows what to do. In the business world, my communication is very critical as a leader. I need to tell everyone what my expectations are. If I expect them to be in the office, in their home office, between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. every day, that needs to be articulated. I can tell you that won't work because that's the part of working from home that everyone loves is the flexibility. So I don't have those types of requirements, but I do communicate. I need to make sure that you're getting your stuff done. So in those daily stand-ups, we circle back and we see where everyone is. Most conflicts come up where there's a lack of communication or a lack of understanding. Think of any conflict in the workplace that you've come across. It's almost always unmet expectations. So if I'm the worker and someone else is the manager and I was working really hard on feature A and he really wanted feature B done and I didn't know, there's going to be some problems there. So that's our duty as leaders, is to communicate what we expect and how that fits into the bigger picture. Okay, the fourth item is trust. We've got to trust our team. We need to trust our team to use their intelligence and skills to get the job done. We need to give them the room and show them that we trust them. Part of that trust comes from the hiring process. The hiring process is a way to find like-minded people that have aligned goals and want to accomplish something great. Then after we build our team, we need to trust them to go get the work done. We need to say, all right, here's what I need you to do. Go do it. How do you think we should accomplish this? And when you trust your team, they will almost always rise to the occasion. When you give trust and clear direction and get out of their way, they will do amazing things for you. And giving your team trust also makes them feel secure, and they know that you have their back. And that's really critical as a leader, to let your team know that you have their back, and they will in turn work hard. All right, number 5, proper resources. As a software developer, a lot of times I had really bad equipment, a really slow computer, really bad software I had to use, and really bad processes. And that really took a toll on productivity and effectiveness. I remember one job I had this laptop that was literally 5 years old. It took 15 minutes to boot up in the morning, and it ran a security scan every day at lunch. This security scan took about 90 minutes to run. So if I take a half-hour lunch, I have a whole hour of not being able to use my computer. It was that intensive on the processor. So that's a bad example. What's a good example? A good example is asking your team, what do you need? Do you have everything you need to do the job? Do you need better equipment? Do you need a bigger monitor? Do you need a faster computer? Get them the tools that they need to do their job, and they won't waste time at lunch on a security scan. Item number 6 is to stay agile. And we don't mean agile methodologies in software development. We mean agility in a team mindset. What does that mean? Well, that means the ability to pivot, the ability to change direction. I'm not talking about over here and then all the way over here, but we make minor adjustments as we go along. We have a big picture. This is what we want to do. And then we'll make minor adjustments as we learn more and know more about this big picture. As this becomes clearer, we'll need to change our approach. And part of that is keeping focused on the goal. As this software that we're building, as it becomes clear what we need to do, we focus down and on the minutia, tiny little things that we need to do, and then we come back and we look at the big picture again, and we keep doing that back and forth until we finally get all the features done that we want to. And part of that is keeping the team small. So as far as the development team goes, if we can keep that development team small, we can keep the conversations small too. We'll have fewer conversations, fewer questions that need to be answered, and we can just focus. A couple other things are eliminate the unnecessary meetings. Meetings are the opposite of productivity. And it's a different way of looking at it as well. So there's a maker and a manager. Those are two different roles, and they approach things very differently because their work is differently. A maker needs focused, extended periods of time so that they can make stuff. Whereas a manager can go from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting and never skip a beat because the context they need is just in the meeting. They don't need to switch context to make anything. They just need to get the input from the team, make decisions, and move forward. So that works great for them. But managers don't realize that makers need that focused time. We need to remind them sometimes. And sometimes I need to be reminded. And lastly, we need to talk about feedback. Feedback is critical. Managers need to receive feedback, and the workers or makers need to receive feedback as well. Feedback is a great way to adjust the way we're doing something, to improve the way we're doing something, and to get even better than we are. We need to learn how to be open-minded. Receiving feedback can sometimes be very uncomfortable, and a lot of people can get defensive. I know I have in the past. But if it's received with an open mind, that feedback is really valuable. So just to recap, we need to continue learning. That is crucial in today's work environment. We need to stop micromanaging. We need to tell people when they're micromanaging us. We need to communicate better. We need to communicate with our team, and then we also need to trust them. Trust is very crucial in today's world. We also need to provide proper resources. The best worker in the world can't do the job well with poor equipment. And lastly, we need to stay agile. We need to go with the flow, so to speak, shift as we need to, focus on what's important, and pivot as needed. I hope you found this useful and got some tips out of it that you can use leading your team. If you want more in-depth information on coaching or business growth, team development, come check us out, codeprogram.io, and we would love to coach your team and help you achieve even more than you are. If you like this video, leave a comment below. We'd love to know your thoughts. And make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, and you'll be notified next time we post a video.